Episode 42. Plan to Abandon. Hearing the doctor's words, Jake felt something had hit him hard. Even she did not realize that the morning after pill would fail her. Those bastards. Sending the doctor away, Henry and Jake went into the private ward. Serena was asleep, her face pale. Her fingers dug into the blanket underneath her, and her forehead was covered by cold sweat. She looked like a wilting daisy. Gazing deeply at her, Jake turned around and walked away. Henry was shocked. "Hey! Where are you going?" However, no one answered him. Coach Dean had never been so down on his luck. He heard that the other 3 guys were taken into custody, with decision pending. However, no enemy of Jake could expect a happy ending. None. Coach Dean stood at the train station with luggage in his hand, looking left and right. It was almost 10 o'clock in the evening, and the train was almost here. As long as he hopped on, he could run away. His phone buzzed, and it was from his family. Coach Dean answered. "Hello? Where are you?" His wife sounded like she was sobbing. He could also hear his child crying. Coach Dean suddenly had a crazy idea. Jake was after his family. "What are you doing? Don't!" His wife was screaming crazily. Coach Dean's knees became weak as he growled with his eyes bloodshot. "Are those bastards after you?" However, it was not his wife that answered him, but the voice of a man. "Bastards?" Hearing the voice, Coach Dean's heart was almost in his throat. He could no longer handle himself and sat down on the floor. "You murdered my child. How about I make you taste the same pain?" His cold voice made Coach Dean shiver. "Don't kill me, please! Daddy, save me!" Hearing his child crying, Coach Dean couldn't help crying as well. "Jake, do not get my family involved. Catch me if you can." Jake looked like he did not care at all. Seeing the woman and child taken hostage by his bodyguards were kept safe, Jake said, "You could determine yourself whether this is just a threat. I will wait for you at your house." Coach Dean felt that all his strength was gone. He had no idea that Jake would strike such a low blow. However, what does that matter? As important as his family was to him, he could always marry again and have another child. On the other hand, he could only live once. In addition, he had not spent the $1 million he had earned. Coach Dean gritted his teeth and rushed into the train. However, several strong men in black immediately surrounded him and pushed him down on the train. Coach Dean was shocked. "What are you doing?" "Let's go." Someone put a bag over his head before they put him on their shoulders and then loaded him into a car. Coach Dean struggled and was let out of the car half an hour later. As the bag was taken off his head, he saw a tall figure that looked noble and suddenly became pale. Coach Dean was sweating all over. Kicked from behind, he immediately kneeled. He wanted to get up, but was held down by the bodyguards behind him. He suddenly felt a chill down his spine. Looking at the man in front of him, Coach Dean's knees became weak. Jake's features were almost perfect, making him look like a sculpture. He did not have time to change out of the blood-stained clothes. Despite what he was wearing, he crossed his legs and looked graceful. With a cigarette between his fingers, he narrowed his eyes at Coach Dean, making the coach shiver. Coach Dean had seen a lot of boxing experts in his life, but no one could make him feel this way. With only one look from this guy, He felt he had nowhere to hide, and he wanted to run away. However, before he got up, he was kicked down by the bodyguards behind him and had to crouch. Then, his hand was stepped on by a military boot. "Ouch!" He screamed out of extreme pain. But a military boot? Coach Dean looked left and right and found the bodyguards that took him to this place were very disciplined. They were not ordinary bodyguards, but soldiers. Coach Dean then realized whom he had pissed off. He immediately looked at Jake, who was just looking down at him. "Where did you get him just now?" "On the train, sir." "The train?" "Yes. He was trying to run away." Without moving a muscle, Jake whispered, "Abandoning his wife and child?" Coach Dean did not dare to say anything and bowed his head. "That was a question. Did you plan to abandon your wife and child?" A soldier kicked him with the military boot, making Coach Dean scream. "Seems that's true." Jake put out the cigarette and whispered, "However..." He stood up, gestured to the soldier who had his foot on Coach Dean's back to move away, and pulled Coach Dean up. Coach Dean felt relieved. It seemed that this man was not as scary as he had thought. Feeling relaxed, he panted and asked, "However?" Jake chuckled, and so did Coach Dean. However, a powerful punch was suddenly thrown on the coach's face. Coach Dean screamed and was sent into the air. It startled everyone. Bang! Coach Dean's body suddenly fell on the floor, as everyone heard his bones breaking. Like a jaguar, Jake jumped up and hit Coach Dean with both fists hard. Each time Jake hit him, a blue spot would be left on his body. The soldiers were a bit scared, pulling Jake away. If he continued, Coach Dean would die. Coach Dean spit out some blood, together with teeth. "My wife and child shall never be harmed by anyone! However, since you have harmed mine, don't think you can keep those hands." Hearing that, Coach Dean felt that he was in hell.